Hello and welcome
to the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club, where if shipping One Piece characters is wrong,
I don't want to be right.
My name is Courtney.
And I'm Wolf.
And today we're talking about One Piece Volume 17. If you are reading on the Shonen Jump app, it's going to be chapters
146 to 155.
New episodes on One Piece drop every Tuesday, and the BL and Romance episodes drop every Thursday, so make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe, and check out the other 16 episodes we've done in this series. To jump right in, we are still at Wapple's castle, and we have our new character, which is a blue-nosed reindeer, Tony Chopper, fighting alongside Luffy, and then Sanji and the witch doctor are both up there. Sanji is trying to get in on the action, and he ends up fighting a villain who throws hairballs at him. Mm-hmm. And once he can't even really fend that guy off, the witch puts her foot on his back and is like, Sanji, your back's still broken. You can't fight. Let these guys handle it. Meanwhile, Nami is up in her room recovering. And then we have down below at the town, Dalton, who has been mortally wounded, with Usopp, Zoro, Vivi, and the rest of the townspeople. And I thought he was dead, so I was really happy to see that he is getting himself together. He wants to go up and help with the fight.
There's 20 doctors that are down there. And because Wapple has abandoned them and gone up to the castle, so 20 doctors are down there. And what happens is they come forth and they're like, we're still doctors. We'd like to help Dalton out. Let us heal him. And so they do.
And they said they never really wanted to join the king. They just didn't want to die. So they had to do whatever he said. So he gets healed up and then he says he's going to walk up the mountain. And Usopp is so moved by his bravery that he says, get on my back, Dalton. I'll carry you to the top of the mountain. And Dalton is this huge ox man. Mm-hmm. He's so big. And so immediately...
He's also a normal man. And this transforms into an ox, but he's normal right now.
But he's still big, normally.
Big dude. Yeah.
He's 4 times the size of Zoro. So
100%.
When he gets on Usopp's back, Usopp is crumbling underneath the weight. And then Zoro picks him up with ease and puts him on his back. And I'll walk you up the mountain. And this is when Vivi says, actually, on our way back from the town over, when we were looking for the witch doctor, we found a gondola thing that will bring you to the top of the mountain. So everyone, let's go over there and get on that, which it would have been nice to know when Luffy was climbing tooth and nail up the mountain, that there was a rope system that could bring them up. So that part's pretty cool. They all get in there and they're on their way up to join. Meanwhile, in the Wapple fight... Wapple is showing us, like, all of his powers.
Yeah, so the way that this whole... Because that's a great introduction to what's happening on the bottom, because it really doesn't play into anything that's happening on top. And so the way that this book starts is, in the last one we had a flashback, and then Luffy was hitting Wapple, and that's where it ended, and this is exactly where it picks up, is Luffy has hit Wapple, Wapple starts to fly... And then you have...
Marimo and Chess.
Yeah, Marimo. That's the most annoying name. Marimo and Chess. And they're starting to fight Chopper and Sanji.
And so then Sanji, like I said, gets put down by the witch. Yep. And the witch makes him sit still. And then we have Wapple disrespecting the castle and the flag that's flying. And that flag was put up by Chopper's adoptive father, who is this quack doctor who was obsessed with making a cherry snow or a cherry blossom bomb so that people in the snow villages could experience the beauty of cherry blossoms.
And get some moral uplifting to bring their spirits up as a whole nation.
Yeah, especially since they've been under this tyrant rule of Wapple for so long.
Exactly.
He wants to show them that miracles exist and that if you believe, nothing's impossible. So he has this pirate flag that has cherry blossom petals on it, and it's flying on top of the castle. Chopper's really territorial over this doctor and really protective of him. So when Wapple starts shooting at his flag, he gets super upset. Luffy sees how upset he's getting. And also Luffy has a lot of respect for the skull and crossbones because the pirate way of life to him resembles life and bravery. And Chopper keeps yelling, you can't shoot down our flag. That's a sign of faith. So they both agree on this point that the skull and crossbones is faith in the impossible, faith in miracles, faith in a better life, and in your friends. So Luffy, even though this Wapple guy is shooting cannonballs at the flag, Luffy won't let it fall. And once it does get blown off, he goes back up to the top of the castle and he puts it back up. Chopper, meanwhile, is furious. He's been set off at this point, and for a second, he tries to let Wapple live. And he says, if you promise to leave the island, I'll let you live. and Wapol shoots him with the cannon. And he sees that no matter how much goodwill he has, leaving Wapol alive is not the option. He has to defeat him.
Mm-hmm.
So Wapol, seeing that this is going to be tougher than he thought, eats both of his men, both of his henchmen. And since he can eat anything, like the cannons that he ate, which he was able to use, if he eats his henchmen, he can use his henchmen. And they merge into one beast.
Yeah, it's a really
gross.
Yeah, but this part of the power doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it is gross. And a lot of things about Wapol don't make any sense. So
yeah.
He eats his own men, and then they start fighting Chopper. And Luffy says...
But they combined like a Transformer or like a Power Ranger. It's really weird.
Yes. And so kicking and screaming when Beyond Sun goes onto the other guy's shoulders.
Yeah, the Mega Human.
The Mega Human. That's what they've made. So
that's essentially, it is literally that.
So he says, Chopper, can you take care of the Mega Human? I'm going to go run up and save the flag again. I'll deal with Wapol. Wapol runs inside and he actually starts chasing Nami. And he's so fat that he can't get through the castle. So he eats himself. And when he eats himself, he turns into a bucket and then he transforms and says body transformation. And then he's all of a sudden, which this is one of
the Wapol Slim Down.
The Wapol Slim Down. I wish I could do a Slim Down. I'm doing a Hooters cosplay and I've been like killing myself at the gym. I wish I could just slim down. Or the Slip Fruit lady. She also has the power to get skinny and beautiful.
She does.
So Wapol is small. He is chasing after Nami. Once Luffy sees that Wapol has his hands on Nami, Luffy kicks the shit out of him, and Sanji was so upset. If he touches one hair on her head. So this is the last straw for them. Mm-hmm. They're pissed. And I think that's when they beat him up. That's like the end of it, because Chopper is fighting the Mega Human.
Yeah, so Chopper is fighting them. They combined. I don't remember if they actually have a name for when they combine together. Actually, they do. It's something stupid, though.
Yeah, so then Chopper eats his Rumble Ball.
He's got a Rumble Ball, which is a type of medicine that he specifically made for himself because Zoan users, which is, you find out later, that's like what animal people are in this One Piece world. There's a whole island of them. So it's really cool. But
Dalton is a Zoan user or has eaten a devil fruit. That's a Zoan type. And so is Chopper. So you have three forms: your normal animal form, your animal human form, and then your monster form, which is like big, giant. And basically Wapol thinks, oh, this is no match for us because he only has three types. I'm very used to this with Dalton having been the leader of my army.
Wapol the henchman, but yeah.
And so then we have Chopper eating this and saying, you have 3 minutes to live, and eats this ball, and then he has 7 forms that he can transform into instead of just 3. And the forms are funny because you'd think they'd just be stronger and stronger, but that's not right. He has a plump where he turns into a sheep, which I don't really know what the use of that one is.
It's so if you hit him,
he's too fluffy.
Yeah, it's too fluffy, so then it all just bounces back, so it doesn't hurt him.
And then he has a brain plump where
he just gets smarter. Physically happens to him is just his brain gets smarter.
And he can see your weak points, and he almost has like a brain like a sight on a gun that can track where your weak point is.
Yeah.
And then he has muscle plump, which makes him really strong, and so he uses all these techniques to...
There's a bunch of different ones, but yeah.
So he uses all of his 7 forms, gets rid of the Mega Human, which is this like chess and Marimo monster that Wapol created. And then inside, Luffy catches up to Wapol, defeats Wapol. Chopper comes in. Do they throw them off the mountain? Is that what they do with them?
So what happens is like the whole Wapol Luffy fight's pretty comedic. He's chasing Wapol around the castle for a while. Eventually they get to a place where there's like this massive gun. And the gun is one of my favorite parts of this whole thing because the gun is like a massive Gatling gun, but it's in the shape of a hippo with a crown and sunglasses. The gun
it's called the 7-shot something.
But like
7-shot tin gun or something.
So yeah, something stupid, but its design is amazing.
And he gets out. He's chasing Nami around, and he can't open his arsenal because Nami has stolen the key.
Yeah.
So
then he ends up running up there, and he's trying to fire it at Luffy. The gun won't fire because there's snowbirds in the gun, just like the snowbirds that were on top of the door from the last one. And then what happens is Luffy's about to hit Wapol in the face. Wapol opens his mouth up really wide, but because Luffy's a rubber band man, his fingers just spread around his face. Wapol shoots a cannon he transforms his tongue into a cannon, and thinks that he got Luffy, but Luffy's behind him. The whole thing is very Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, and then Luffy does one of those, what is it called when you slam somebody? A suplex?
He does a suplex, and he transforms himself into a fruit roll-up. You know how they're wound up? And he calls it a bow gun. And so he does a new move, which is called bow gun. Shoots Wapol up into the tip of the tower, because on a castle, there are little tips on the top of the towers and stuff. He shoots him on the top there, and then from up there, he just uses a bazooka and sends him flying into sky.
And I was like, is he dead?
No.
Wolfgang's no. He absolutely comes back, which is annoying, because
we
could have just killed him in this one.
He is the king of Drum Island.
Ugh.
I
thought that Drum Island would be free after this.
Oh.
Don't make me furious. That makes me furious. I'm so mad about that.
Let's just say anywhere that Luffy goes, he makes it a better place, and so Wapol eventually learns his lesson, but you don't see that, and it's fine.
Okay. So after he's gotten rid of those guys, we forgot one move that I did want to mention. This is the first time we see Sanji and Luffy work together using their combined powers.
Yep.
And at the beginning of the story, there's a moment where Sanji uses his kick and he says, Luffy, hang on, and Luffy grabs his leg, and when he kicks as hard as he can, he turns into a missile, and he does some spins. He goes, I'll add some spins. So he's like a torpedo that goes flying into one of the enemies. So I liked that, because just watched a chunk of the anime. I know that Sanji using his kicks can send Zoro flying, and it later on will become really useful. He can basically make people fly, and he can fly himself because his kicks are so strong. So it was really cool to see that starting here, that Luffy and him can work together to become a super weapon too.
So up until now in the book, most of this has just been a fight. And so now Luffy sends Wapol flying, and Zoro, Vivi, Usopp, the whole crew down below, comes up with the villagers on the rope car, and they end up meeting Luffy and the gang up there.
And Dalton had planned on blowing himself up inside the castle.
Yeah, he's a wild dude. He has dynamite strapped onto him. He's like, as soon as we get up there, guys, just move out of the way. And it's like,
but
what are you doing?
He doesn't have any faith that they're winning this fight against Wapol, because he could never beat Wapol.
Yes.
And when he gets up there, he sees a blue-nosed reindeer. And the blue-nosed reindeer he had saved in the last volume and told him to just run away from Wapol. And this blue-nosed reindeer recognizes him. They're both zone-type users. And he was scared of Dalton. And Dalton's, wait, reindeer, it's you. And all of the villagers who came up with him get their guns. They're ready to shoot at him because they think he's this abominable snowman. And he says, none of you shoot at him. He is not a monster. Luffy starts running after
This is thank you for fighting for this country.
Yeah, it's really sweet to have Dalton's respect like that. So he starts running, and Luffy starts chasing after him, and Luffy's, come be a pirate with us, please. And Chopper is scared that people are hunting him, so he's just running in circles until it gets dark. Meanwhile, Dalton has obviously seen there's no need for him to suicide bomb the tower, so he goes to talk to the witch. And they're reminiscing a little bit on old times and the doctor who once tried to save everybody. And she is filling him in on Chopper being trained as a doctor. Dalton and the witch are talking when Luffy catches up to Chopper. And Chopper is, listen, I heard you. I know you want to come with me. You want me to come with you on the boat. But I can't be a pirate, because a monster like me could never have human friends. And Luffy had yelled during the battle as well, I'm your friend. And he repeats it this time. He's, no, we're friends. And I want you to come. We're going to have the best time. It's going to be so silly and fun. Come with me. Be a pirate with me. And he says, I can't. Thank you so much for the offer. I really appreciate your friendship. Come visit me one day. And Luffy says, shut up. Get in my boat. We're going. You have no choice. I know you want to come with. Just come with. Quit being fake humble. And Nami and Sanji and Dalton are all getting helped by the witch doctor. And the witch doctor is saying to them, you can't leave the infirmary. You guys need to stay and heal up. He still has 2 days left. Sanji gets his back finished as far as the procedure goes. Dalton is going to heal just fine. And Nami wants to sneak away. We've got to get back on the boat. We've got to get Vivi back to Alabasta. And the witch doctor says, listen, I'm not allowed to as a doctor, I can't let you leave till you've fully recovered. But I'm going to go down to my sled. My jacket's up here. The door's unlocked. Don't sneak out. And Vivi goes, is she telling us to grab her jacket and sneak out? And Nami's, yeah, that's for sure. So they get all their shit. They're ready to go. Nami had this key to the armory, and she made a deal with the witch that if she gave her the key to the armory, then she wouldn't owe them any money. So they're evensies. They're good to go. They sneak away. They go to load up. Luffy has convinced Chopper.
Which is Kureha, if for anyone who's tracking.
So Chopper has agreed to go with, and Luffy is, we've got a new doctor for the boat. Chopper goes to tell the witch, hey, I gotta go. I've decided to join them as pirates. And she is not having it. She starts yelling at him and throwing her knife, her butcher knife at him, and says, you are just a silly animal. You cannot go with them. You can't swim.
You can't be a pirate.
You're a crybaby. And he says, no, I'm a man. I'm not just a reindeer. I'm a man. And she says, what kind of man would just cry all the time? She starts chasing him, throwing knives at him, and he's being really brave. And he's, I want to be a pirate. I can do this. I promise. I'm brave enough. I'm grown enough. And she chases him all the way out of the house, and he grabs her sled. He ties it to himself. It's like a Santa sled, and he's a reindeer with a blue nose. So he gets all of his friends to jump in the sled, and then he jumps down the mountain, and they soar like Santa Claus through the sky. So once they get to the bottom, Chopper says, oh my gosh, I can't believe she was so mad at me, and I forgot all of my medical equipment. And then he looks in the back of the sled, and the witch had packed up all of his stuff carefully for him because she knew that he was going to leave. And Nami says, oh, she must be a really nice lady, and she knew what you're going to do all along. Meanwhile, the witch is up at the top of the mountain talking to Dalton, and she's crying, and she says, I hate Tearful. I had to get that boy out of here. That silly fool, and I know the perfect way to send him off. And she gets the cherry bomb that his adopted father had been working on, and she sets it off with all of these cannons into the sky, and when it mixes with the snow, it falls down as pink snow, and it looks like cherry blossom leaves. Chopper, seeing this, knows that she's not only given her blessing, but also what his adoptive father had worked his whole life on was true, and the impossible is... it doesn't exist. Nothing's impossible. Anything he puts his mind to, he can have. So he feels really confident now going off to be a pirate that he can do whatever he sets his mind to. And it's a totally beautiful moment.
Yeah, no, it's a great moment.
So then once they're on the boat, they're goofing around, they're being silly, they're having a great time.
They're putting
chopsticks
in their nose, and then putting top of them in their nose, and then the bottoms in their bottom lip.
It's like a walrus.
Yeah, exactly.
And Chopper says, this is the most fun I have ever had. Everybody eats all of the food that they have on board. Sanji's mad. He needs a lock for the fridge.
Usopp's giving a toast to Chopper joining.
They're dancing around.
Zoro's sleeping.
It's the cutest, most wholesome moment because up until now, we've been in Chopper's backstory and it's just been sad. And now this is a victory, a true victory where they can enjoy themselves. But Nami reminds them Vivi's whole family and village are in danger and they need to stay on track. And she is reminding them how Baroque works, is organized. And she says, number 0 is Crocodile. He is the big bad guy who's trying to take over my whole village. He's also a warlord that works for the world government.
Warlord of the Sea.
One of the 7 warlords of the sea. So the government pays him to defeat other pirates. So he has no honor to pirates. And he's going behind the world government's back to take over my country. So he has no loyalty to the government. He's a backstabbing, double-crossing motherfucker. So
he's a mob boss kingpin.
So his organization is organized with all of the men having numbers and all of the women having days. Mm-hmm. So Miss Valentine, Miss Wednesday, etc. It's all Sunday. And while Crocodile is at the top, there is somebody who is Mr. 2. Mr. 2 is Bon Clay, and we flash over to Bon Clay. He's on a swan-shaped boat.
This is maybe one of your favorite characters in the whole series.
I was so excited because I knew that Bon Clay was going to pop up soon here. And this is one of my all-time favorites. It's funny because you forget a little bit that he's a villain at the beginning and he's fighting for the bad guys. He's on a ship that looks like a swan and he's beating up some villagers trying to figure out where Mr. 3 is because he's dispatched to go take out Mr. 3 because Mr. 3 failed Crocodile. So he's going to do Crocodile's dirty work a little bit. And that's our real first introduction to him. While he's shaking down this villager, he says, what are you going to call me? Sir, madame, sir, ma'am, what is it? And he's joking around a little bit about his gender, and he is basically alluding to the fact that he's neither a man nor a woman. And every other character on Baroque works has a partner that's a male. There's one of each. And Bon Clay,
they have partners.
It shows us a chart when Vivi is explaining this, and it shows that Bon Clay has no partner because he is the male and the female partner. He's both. He's non-binary, and he's a total queen. They are a total queen. Super fun. He says that he is from My Way Island. What was it? Okay. Bon Clay has this line. He says, "I'm a follower of the Oh Come My Way lifestyle." And that, in a different question corner that Oda answers, somebody says, "Where's Oh Come My Way? Where is that? Is it near my neighborhood?" And he says, "Oh Come My Way is where people who have come out live." And I think it exists everywhere. So he's saying that's people who are gay. And then he gives us a non-binary character who's basically dressed in drag. And I just think it's really cool that this early on, Volume 17, way back in the early 2000s, 90s, we already have somebody who's pretty positively representing a queer character. And this character is going to be really strong. He's at the top of the food chain. It's exciting.
One of the more famous characters in One Piece.
Absolutely. And one of the most well-written, complex characters. Really an interesting character. So then we also get a flashback to Dalton talking to his men on Drum Island. And they say, "Oh, a strange man came and gave us this bounty poster, this wanted poster for Luffy. We forgot to tell you. But he said, I'll be in Alabasta in 10 days. Have Luffy meet me there if you find him." And they ask him his name, and he says, "My name is Ace." And
it's Luffy's brother.
It's going to be Luffy's brother, spoiler. And that's our first introduction to Ace.
One of my favorite characters of all time.
And one of the hottest characters of all time.
Sure.
So then we also get a scene of Crocodile. Crocodile is going over to Alabasta to get rid of the pirates that are there, and everybody is greeting him really joyfully. They're like, "Crocodile's here to save us, the king of the desert." They love him. And it's because they don't know that he's trying to take over their country. He is, like I said, double-crossing everybody, and he's just keeping up appearances that he's taking down these pirates, and he's stealing their treasure, but he doesn't actually give a damn about the villagers.
Yep.
But he is so hot.
Yeah, like I was saying, he's like a kingpin mobster guy that, like, when he comes around, and you find this out either in the next book or the one after that he's kind of like producing rain when he comes around, and it's a desert, so it's a rare commodity, right? And so there's a few things that are kind of happening with him, and you kind of figure out he's a really, like, one of my favorite characters, but a very shady individual when it comes to protecting villages and a country.
So he jumps down to fight all these pirates, and you get his full character. Up until now, he's been in the shadows when we see him, and now we get the full character intro. He has a scar across his forehead or his neck?
Just right here.
Across his nose. He has a scar across the bridge of his nose. Yeah. He has a hook for a hand. He wears a huge cape. He has this cool waistband like Zoro wears around his waist, and then a super bulky build.
It's funny, though. I don't believe that he actually has a hook for a hand as much as he has a hook hand. And it does show him with a hook and a hand, but I can't remember if it's actually a hook hand or... So what pirates also did if they didn't have a hook for a hand is they had a little, kind of like a little thing they would grasp, and it would be like a bar that was.
Do you remember when we had those Hulk hands when we were growing up?
It's exactly
and
like that.
Inside the Hulk hand, you grab onto a little bar.
A little bar. I can't remember if Crocodile is that, but Courtney described it perfectly. He's a very suave, well-dressed dude, and like furs and everything. Sexy. And yeah, he's very good looking, and he's the first main boss. All these other bosses have been like mini bosses. The people that Luffy fought so far, this will be the first main boss.
So I'm really excited to see more of Crocodile. He gets stabbed to bits by 6 swords, and then it doesn't faze him at all. So
he's the Sandman. I don't know if you said that, but he literally can't be hurt by physical objects unless something happens. I'm not going to spoil that yet.
Yeah, he doesn't say that he's a Sandman yet, so you solved that mystery for me. But yeah, he can't be stabbed with swords, which is crazy cool. He's wearing a huge fur coat in the middle of the desert, which is nuts. So apparently he's impenetrable to the heat as well.
He's
impervious to the heat. Very sick character. I'm super excited to get back into him. And then we forgot to mention that at the beginning of each one of these chapters, and this has been going on for the last volume or so, Django, who was caught by the Navy, has been putting on a kind of disco, and it's a distraction to free himself from the Navy. He's distracting them with all of this events and a dance off and all this stuff going on, and he ends up meeting Full Body, which was a villain from Volume 1.
It's from the Sanji era. It doesn't matter.
So Full Body and Django have the cover of each one of the chapters. And Wolf said, oh my gosh, you're going to think that this is a BL. And it's totally BL coded. They're drinking wine. They have all their men basically guarding them.
I'm assuming this is Django's origin story into joining the Navy. Because his Full Body is still part of the Navy. And so I'm wondering if this is one of those things where it's only written and it's not an actual anime episode.
Because it's just those chapters, which is just a funny little backstory at the beginning of each chapter with 1-page panel of what's going on with our other villains. That happened with Buggy, too, where he wasn't in the main plot, but we got to see what he was going through in his journey at the beginning of each chapter. But I did think it was really funny to see, because you said, oh my gosh, are Django and Full Body in love? Courtney, I think you get a BL. And they totally look like they're dating in this. They're dancing together. They're having wine together. They're relaxing. It's cute, right? Do you ship them?
Sure.
You do?
Yeah.
I ship them.
I don't think that Full Body comes in for a long time in the show again.
But you could see them being in love.
Sure.
Why do you have to say sure? Can't you just be excited for me that I have a BL?
I just think that Django's kind of a weird dude. So it's,
Django, he has heart eyes and heart glasses.
He's not hot. He's not drawn hot at all.
Full Body is definitely drawn hot. And he has...
Sure, yeah. But Django's drawn like a weird Michael Jackson out of his prime.
Michael Jackson is hot. And I won't have you disrespect Michael Jackson.
Out of his prime, super skinny, not hot anymore.
I won't take the Michael Jackson slander.
Just saying.
And Full Body is really hot. He basically has brass knuckles that he wears, and that's hot.
But that's not Django.
Here's the other thing. I'm talking about Full Body. And Full Body on a date with a girl when we first meet him. He has no game with girls. He doesn't even seem interested in her. He just wants some kind of clout from dating her. So I say he is interested in men, and he's interested in Django. And I love that.
Make your story, Queen.
Did you have anybody else that you were shipping from this?
Why do I feel like I want to say yes? Because... maybe you're leading me into that. No, not really.
Dalton and the Witch?
No.
She's too old.
Dalton and Kureha? No. I think that Kureha is... I don't know. I just don't think that Kureha is really one of those people. And also, I think that Dalton might be... it would be very interesting because for some reason, it's like one of those Anakin, Princess, Queen Amidala. Thank you. I don't know where my brain is right now. One of these Anakin, Queen Amidala things where, like, when Dalton saw her as a child... and now they're like...
you're talking about Vivi.
Yeah, Vivi and Dalton.
Because, so you might ship Vivi and Dalton.
So, and this is a little bit like spoilers, but it doesn't matter because this is something you don't know about. But there becomes a time in the current arc where they have something called a revelry. That's not the right pronunciation.
Revelry.
Thank you. And it's like where all the kingdoms get together, right? And so you see all these characters and all these people that Luffy and his crew have saved. And they're like super complimentary of Luffy. And they're like, pirates are bad, but one crew out there, it's really good. And then you see Vivi and Dalton get back together and like see each other and they haven't seen each other for a while. And that could definitely be a thing.
We saw Vivi's head chief of their military who protected her died. He got blown up.
Yep.
And so maybe she does hire him for that. You're stepping on my fantasy, which is that Vivi and Nami get together. But I'll let you have Vivi and Dalton in your head. Now that I've met Crocodile, would you ship him with anybody in the end? Not without spoiling something for me. Is there somebody you ship Crocodile with?
No.
No?
No.
He's just single? He's a bachelor?
I know who you would ship Crocodile with.
Who?
You would ship him with Mihawk.
Juicy.
I already know you would.
That is so exciting.
Actually, it would probably be like a throuple situation
with
for
Buggy.
You. It would be Buggy. It would literally Buggy, Mihawk, and Crocodile.
I know that they form a crew, but I already
It's called the Cross Guild.
I already ship Buggy with
Shanks.
Yeah, I'm not going back on that. They're one true pairing. They're definitely in love.
I bet you that's definitely some fan work that's came out. Right?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a popular ship.
No, 3 of them in the Cross Guild.
Ooh, I would pay for it on Patreon.
Bet you it's out there.
If you guys know an artist who's drawing the Cross Guild, Shanks, or wait, if you know a fan artist who's drawing Buggy, Crocodile, and me all doing it together, you hook me up right now. I'll pay whatever Patreon membership I've got to pay to see that shit. So with all of that being said, who is your delusional boyfriend from this one?
Oh, man. It's definitely Nami. Because at one point she loans Luffy her jacket. And then Luffy completely wrecks it from cannonball fire. And then you owe me 3 times the amount of that
In
jacket.
interest.
In interest.
You love a bitch. You love someone
It's
a
just
strong woman.
Because what happens is, this is like one of my favorite things, is that Nami, throughout the entire story, makes it so everyone in the crew owes her some kind of money. And there becomes a point where no one can ever pay her back.
That's so every time she gets treasure, she doesn't have to split with them.
Zoro still hasn't paid her back.
Yeah.
To like where we're currently are at in the story.
Because
like,
he got his swords from her.
And he still has not paid her back. And it's so funny.
You love a powerful, tricky woman.
With
a lot of attitude.
It's a cat and mouse game, and it's someone who's like constantly a cat, and then they're the mice. And it's
Everyone else is a mouse.
Yeah, and it's super funny.
And it's great because she has a rod that she can fight with, like a fighting stick, but she mostly doesn't have to fight, and she shows that she's better than everybody on the crew just because of her brain. And I love that. Her brain is really the thing that keeps them going. Even though everyone else has muscles and fighting and superpowers, her brain is what drives this boat.
Yeah, even in the current, she has things that still fight for her, so she doesn't have to do a whole lot.
Yeah, I love that. I totally relate to that. Being able to kick your feet up and let people take care of business around you, and it's not because you're not capable, it's because you have better shit to do.
Yeah, and that's all I'll say.
Who do you think my delusional boyfriend from this one is?
Probably Crocodile.
It is Crocodile. And I was torn because Bon Clay is introduced, Ace is introduced. Also, Chopper was a huge hero in this one.
I bet you Bon Clay is your next pick
on
the next book, because he has a bigger role.
And Chopper, it's hard to pick Chopper as your delusional boyfriend because he is like a young at heart. You see him as a little boy almost, and he hulks out and he becomes a big monster. But it's hard for me to say Chopper, but he was also considered. I want to say honorable mention. It's Chopper, but
sure.
Seeing Crocodile in his full form with his scar jump off the building in his fur coat, and get stabbed 6 times and survive. I'm sorry, I know he's a villain, but Crocodile's fucking hot. He might be the hottest character we've seen so far.
The kids call him tough. That's what they call him these days. He's tough.
Don't act like you have any friends.
Real tough. He's a real hard character.
You don't have any friends who are the kids. His niece taught him the word tough, and now he won't stop calling everybody tough.
No, it's one of those things where I remember when I was a kid and he was first introduced, because all you had was things like Naruto and then Dragon Ball Z. And he was very much like the Gaara character, who's a character from Naruto, who's the sand dude as well. And he's
very cool. I love there's a moment in this where Oda's talking about how it's at the very beginning of the book. He says there's a very busy restaurant that has TVs at each table. And on Sundays at 7, if you go there, all of the kids will be quiet with their mouths hanging open, staring at the TVs. And it's because they're watching One Piece. And when I see that, I don't ever want to disappoint them. And I like that he drew a Crocodile character that you find super sick. And you are one of those kids who would have just been watching the TVs, waiting for the next villain to be cooler than the last.
That's a really cool thing he wrote. I didn't know that.
It's super cool. This is what you get for not reading the bonus bits. It says right here, my staff and I often go to a very noisy Japanese restaurant where a lot of people take their children. There are TVs at each table. If you go there on Sunday nights at 7:30, you'll see the children staring at the TV screens with their mouths wide open, looking silly. They're watching One Piece. When I see that, I never want to let them down. Ichiro Oda, 2001.
That's why he's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT. He's the fucking coolest. Was there ever a time when you almost gave up on it and thought it wasn't cool, or did he just always impress you?
No, there was a time in high school when I put it down for a second because I wanted to get chicks rather than watch anime, but he never let me down, because the episodes you watch, it's always an adventure, and it's really cool.
Oh, I love that. I'm so happy to be doing this with you. This is probably my favorite volume that we've read so far. We had so many hot characters. We have some shipping business going on with Django and Full Body. It was really fun. I love Chopper making friends. All of my heartstrings were pulled during this. I was entertained. I laughed. It was wonderful. And I'm excited because we're getting out of a winter island and we're going to go to a different environment. And it's really cool. We went to a jungle environment. We've been to a winter environment, and it will be fun to see where we go next, which I'm pretty sure next stop, Alabasta, right?
Yeah.
We don't have anything in between?
I do not believe so, no.
I don't think so.
I think the next stop is Alabasta.
And there is a movie, a One Piece movie that takes place in Alabasta.
It's just an abridged, fast-paced version of the entire arc.
And that is really fun. I like that movie, and I put it on sometimes to go to sleep. It's a really good one. There's some shitty...
Probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, and there's some annoying... There's 2 One Piece movies I don't like. And this Alabasta one is probably one of my absolute favorites. Don't you agree? It's not one of your favorites? No. I love it.
It's just, so they do the same, I believe Skypia, one of the next arcs also does that. There's another arc that does the same thing, where they cram the entire arc into 1 2-hour movie. It's not my favorite because you miss
certain details,
funny things. There's a lot of cool characters. Ace is voiced by a young Travis Willingham, and it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see some of these other people that have, like, I grew up and I really like, because I like Critical Role. They have big roles in this whole series, and it's just, yeah.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, the voice actors in a lot of these anime, there's some really famous ones, and a few of them are friends, and they started a D&D campaign together, and we're big podcast people, so we listen to a lot of podcasts, which is why we made a podcast. But if you want, you can listen to Critical Role as a podcast, or you can watch it on YouTube. And one of those actors is Travis Willingham, and I had no idea that he voiced Ace, but that makes it so much hotter. I like everybody that he voices.
He's a very good voice actor. Matt Mercer is Law in this.
Laura Bailey is a One Piece character, isn't she?
Yes.
Check out Critical Role if you haven't. It's something that we collect. I just happen to be staring at all of our Critical Role merch over here, but it's another thing we're huge fans of. Maybe we'll do a Critical Role season when we're done with One Piece. We can go through and do Delusional Boyfriend episodes of Critical Role and go through the graphic novels. That would be sick. Maybe. So with that being said, look forward to future episodes that we do together. New episodes drop every Tuesday. BL and romance episodes drop every Thursday. If you haven't already, make sure that you hit auto download if you're on the podcast apps and leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe and leave us a comment for who your delusional boyfriend from this volume was. And until next time, remember, sometimes the delusion
is a solution.
Bye.
See you guys.